welcome back to Girl That'll Preach. Today I am so honored to have my good friend Andrea Nagel with me to share about a topic that is very close to her heart, and that is taking care of those who care for others. So thanks so much, Andrea, for being here today. I just love having you.
Thank you.
So by way of introduction, I want to say Andrea is a pastor's wife. She and her husband Kirk lead Parsonville Assembly of God in Houtzdale, Pennsylvania. They have 4 children: Josiah, Sarah, Michaela, and Anna. And I don't know, do you remember when we first met?
I want to say it was actually at Pastor's Wives Retreat one time. I sat down with you at a table because you were talking about the books you wrote, and I was interested in like the devotional thing, trying to figure out how do I do this.
That is the first time we met. It was my first time at Pastor's Wives Retreat, and I felt so awkward because I was the only one there who wasn't a pastor's wives. Like, they call it women in ministry, but it's really Pastor's Wives Retreat. I mean, everybody knows that. And I was the only married one there, and I felt so awkward. And you were one of the people who made it feel like I belonged, and it wasn't so awkward. So I really
great.
That.
I so enjoyed our conversation.
I also remember there was another woman there who was with us, and she was struggling with issues with her daughter, was going through some health issues. And I remember listening to you talk to her and encourage her and just really share your story of what's going on in your life. And I'd never heard it before. I did not know anything about you. And as I was listening to your story, but yet also listening to your passion for caretaking and how you encouraged her. That's one thing you need to know about Andrea. She has a lot of issues in her life, with struggles with physical issues in her family, but you are a light everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you fill the room with joy. You're an encouragement. You're fun to be around, and you're just always lifting up other people. And that's just such an amazing gift that you have that I think everyone who knows you appreciates.
Thank you. Thank you.
So everybody, in my opinion, needs a friend like you. One thing I appreciate about your friendship that I'll just say right here is you have always let me be me. We all have people in our lives who, you can't let your guard down around. And sometimes in ministry, you really have to, be careful what you do. But with you, I can just say it. I could just say, man, I'm a mess today. I'm just, things are not going well. And you don't judge. You're just like, yep, that's how we all have days like that. And you're just encouraging. And I really appreciate that you have let me be me. So.
Well, thank you, because you do the same for me too. So thank God I can just be like, I feel crazy today.
Yes. So not all of our conversations are going on video, because some of them are just too crazy to be out there. But
yeah, I appreciate that about you too. I'm so thankful. So thankful.
So thank you so much for that. And like I said, everybody needs a friend like you. And I'm really excited for you to share your heart today. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
So for those of you who don't know you, could you just share a little bit about your experience as a caregiver?
I have been doing it for 22 years. When Michaela was born, she had health issues at birth, and then it's just continued down the years and just added kids to that. We have 3 kids that have neurofibromatosis. We have 4 kids total, but 3 have neurofibromatosis that causes tumors to grow anywhere in and outside of the body. It can be mild cases to death, amputations, whatever. We've kind of been in the middle with brain surgeries and chemotherapy for all 3 kids and stuff. So it's been about 22 years of dealing with. We figured out Michaela probably has had a total combined years of chemo of like maybe 9 years total that she's been through, like clinical trials, chemotherapy, brain surgeries, so about a total of 9 years total for herself, with that. So that's kind of shortened version of the caregiving. That's mainly what, and I like I like if there's other people that need help, I say, hey, what's another one, going in, I'll take you to the hospital, or, and there's some people in the church that I take to their appointments and stuff. And just from doing it for so long, you kind of get to know what questions to ask and what to really focus on. So I just feel like I can offer those services to other people. I'll gladly do that. So
you're real familiar with the medical system and how it works and all those things. You're also really familiar. You wrote something recently, which occurred to me. You're really familiar with the insurance system. And so that's a battle that caregivers have to deal with.
Yes. Insurance has been one of the most evil things in the process. Like, there's days where, like, I actually literally get anxiety when I see something coming through the mail that has like the insurance name on it or whatever, because you don't know when you open that envelope up, what did they deny this? Did they approve this? Am I going to be battling again? And we went through that with one of Michaela's brain surgeries. The insurance didn't cover the hospital we went to, but the insurance we had, that hospital would only at best offer her a life in a wheelchair. And I battled that. I said, I'm not accepting that for my daughter. I will take her somewhere else that they offer a little more hope. So we won that. But yeah, insurance is really, really it's just hard when you're dealing with other issues and the medical and the care of your loved one. And then you add that insurance stuff and the fighting and the trying to get what your loved one needs. It's been difficult. Now lately it's been really good. We have good insurance now, but there were times where there was just years of battling for just what your loved one needed. I think, and the medications not being filled. It's like seizure medications not being filled because they chose not to.
I think that's something that all caregivers can relate to. I remember because I spent part of my 30s, my mom and Jamie both had serious health issues, and I was kind of in that role of, it's not an official title, you're just kind of taking care of things, you're helping them, you're doing things. But I remember at one point the insurance, the only kind of treatment that worked for my mom, the insurance deemed non-essential. And I remember being on the phone, fighting with them and dealing with them. And finally the doctor just worked it out that we went around the insurance and he just treated her and we paid, and he gave us a super reduced price, which I'm so thankful for. But that's a big burden. One of the things that caretakers have to deal with is you're fighting for, you're almost an advocate for the person that you're trying to help.
Yeah. It is. It's hard. It's really hard. And I'm not, and we've talked about this, you and I together, confrontation. I'm just not a confrontational person. And when you're in those situations and have to be an advocate, you have to like rise up with a strength, that only God can give you through those times to be able to fight it. Because when you're more timid and want to run away from those situations, it's not a good. So I found strength in that throughout our years, but it's hard when you struggle with that. But when it comes to your loved ones, I think it's easier to rise up.
You got that mama bear thing going on. So.
Yes, mama bear, daughter bear, you have to,
So another question I have for you is, you talk about how it's difficult for you as a non-confrontational person to have to deal with the battle, but how do you deal with the fear aspect? Because that was something I didn't deal with well. When you love someone and you have to deal with the fear while overcoming the fear to manage it.
that's very hard. And I've shared with you before, like the praying of the unshakable faith. I desire that so much that I can get my relationship with Jesus to a point where if something happens, I'm not going to falter. I will not fear. I will go straight to having faith that the outcome, whatever it may be, is going to be what God's will is. And that's a I just said to my husband today, as the people say about praying for patience, I said, this praying for unshakable faith. I said, there's sure been many opportunities in the last few weeks to to build that.
Yeah.
But I've been failing each time. But it's hard to juggle that fear when you see your loved one in those situations. And I remember when there was a certain point in Michaela's care where we had exhausted every chemo, every clinical trial. Radiation wasn't an option for these type of tumors, because if you radiate, they then in years down the road will come back more aggressive and kill them, so we were at a point of no other options. And I remember being up at the altar praying. We had a special speaker that night, and I just felt such a pressure on me. And he made this statement. He said, whatever you choose the best to your ability, these decisions that you're making, because God's outcome will always be what happens, no matter what. So don't allow that fear and that pressure to be everything you're carrying, because you are just called to, you're just called to do the best and to make the best decisions that you and God, you feel God's telling you, because whatever God's deciding in this issue will come to be. So just do your best. So that helped with some of the fear that I struggled with throughout the years. I'm not saying I've conquered it, but it does help knowing that I can just rest, knowing that whatever it is and whatever I decide medically, because that's one of the things as a caregiver, you're making life and death situations sometimes for your loved ones. And there's a lot of pressure and fear in that. But that statement that speaker made that night, I will never forget that. So
that is so
yeah.
good. That really resonates with my heart. And I'm sure people who are listening to it, that will really connect, because wow, that takes so much pressure off of you. That in the end, God decides the outcome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Sharing that.
Yeah, it really did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. I'm trying not to cry.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking, how much am I going to get through without crying?
But let's switch topics so we don't keep making you cry. Okay, how has all of your experiences, everything you've been through, created a passion inside of you to support other people in their efforts to take care of their loved ones?
I think just because you're in it and you see and you know the real struggles, and the emotional roller coaster, and it just has given me such a passion to be able to be there for other people. And I think the first time I realized that I just wanted to be real with people was one time years ago when Michaela was first born with the health issues. I was just really struggling, and I was told by this person, "You're a pastor's wife. You need to show the world and show your church people that they're watching you, how you're handling this." And I remember thinking, yeah, I know, and I trust God. I do believe that he has this, but yet I'm still human.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a pastor's wife, I'm still human, and I'm having these difficult times. And I think when I heard that from that person, it kind of made me realize the importance of being there for other people and just being real and letting them just be who they are, knowing that you're going to have times where you feel like you're going berserk. And just letting them be real and talk, and not saying the script, but sometimes you just need that time without hearing oh, God's got this. So God, like sometimes you just need to just be real and just be human, and then just make sure they know you're there. So that's what I have such a passion and a desire to be that to others while they're walking this caregiving journey. And because I just feel like in a world where there's so much false and fake,
Mm-hmm.
people are just searching for just true, real people that they can just be real with. And I just really believe that's so important. So
it's so important.
So that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and I admire that about you, because when you're going, I know recently I went through a health crisis last spring with my dad, and we got mixed messages. Some people were very supportive, but some people tried to turn it on, try and make it super spiritual, or, well, maybe, this will good will come out of it. In that moment, although I appreciate everyone's concern, what helped was you saying, are you okay? Are you holding up okay? You need to talk, you need to cry, and sometimes you just need that realness when you're going through a crisis. And so that's something that you're able to give to people. So I know from personal experience with my mom and dealing with Jamie's health issues, that helping someone you love who's struggling physically, it's difficult, but it's also a blessing. What are some of the blessings that you've experienced as you've gone through this process?
I can seriously sit here and say that though it's been hard, God's been so faithful, and there has been so many blessings, and we have been blessed by so many people entering our lives that would have never entered our lives if it wasn't for the medical journey. We have family that was created through life circumstances and not by blood, and that the bond that's created within the people that you meet throughout the journey, the doctors. I'm still really close friends with secretaries and doctors, and that we have had. They used to say they needed to name a wing at Geisinger, the Nagel wing, because we were there so much getting treatments. All three of the kids. At one time it was both kids getting chemo together, and and it's just, you just become a family. And then there's been many opportunities of sharing Jesus with people that would not have been. And again, because you're in that situation, you can understand more. And one thing I've learned throughout the process was not always do people need to hear that you're praying for them, because people that are unsaved, when they're going through a situation, like I have a friend that lost her daughter, and well, quite a few friends that have lost their kids throughout the years. But this one specifically, she shared on Facebook, she said, where is your God that you're praying to? Where is your God that you're praying to that's allowing my daughter, I'm watching my daughter die in front of me. So not always do you need to share with people that you're praying for them. Just let them know you're there. And I've learned that that's a very important part of being there for people throughout the journey. And just like I said, sharing Jesus, I always pray, God, if you're not desiring to heal them now, let this not all go in vain, and something to take place that your glory can be shown, because it makes it, some of it is easier, because when you know there's a hope that something good's going to come out of it, and you're going to be able to share Jesus and be the hands and feet of Jesus to other people, it just makes it a little easier to journey through than if there wasn't that. If it was just you dealing with this lifelong issue with no good outcome, and just no hope there. So I guess those are the blessings. I've learned a lot. My kids have learned a lot. I think they're empathetic and just loving towards people because of what they've seen, and what they went through and stuff. So in it all, there's been so many blessings through this journey, and I'm just thankful. And you can look back and see God's hand in every situation. Wow. Maybe not necessarily as you're going through it, but when I look back, I can see where he ordered my steps every every time. Our steps were ordered every time. There was a lady in the bathroom one time at CHOP. We had gotten there. We had to be there so early in the morning, and the traveling back and forth was just crazy. And I was having one of my pity parties, and Michaela had to get a urine test every time we started a new cycle of chemo to make sure it wasn't affecting her kidneys before we started. And we went into the bathroom for her to do this, and I heard this lady crying in the next stall. And she came out, and her child was just diagnosed with cancer. And Michaela and I were able to pray over her and just be there for her. And quickly, my self-pity party, like, I was like, okay, God, you did. Oh, you ordered these steps. We were to be here at this time, you know. And so you can look back on that, and you can see how he ordered everything, and he's still ordering our steps and providing ways to just be used by him and be a blessing, and in return you're blessed. So
you said something there that I also want to just kind of acknowledge, and that is if someone is a caretaker, don't feel bad if you have those pity party moments. You know, it happens. It's a hard road, and sometimes you're just tired and the battle is just hard, and you just have to give yourself a little bit of time to have it. Have some ice cream, have some chocolate, have a good cry, and then get back up again.
Yep, total agreement. And there's some people that make you feel guilty for that, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't, you know, and I don't agree with that. You do need those times of just being in that self-pity. Don't stay there.
Yeah,
and God will give you plenty of opportunities. Yeah, I mean, he's like, I'll suck it up, and you know, like just, you know, like, but there's plenty of opportunities that he won't allow you to stay there. You'll see that, okay, I can't, there's so much worse out there than what I'm dealing with, you know, type thing. And then it gets you back on focus. But yeah, you need those times to just cry and be like, why us? And why, you know, like,
it's
it's real.
You can't live there, but you got to get it out. Trying to hide it is ridiculous. So
it is. Yep.
So there's some encouragement going through this. It's okay to have a little moment, have some chocolate, have a cry. Andrea said so. What is the number one thing you would tell someone who is in the role of taking care of someone, whether it be a child or a parent or maybe a spouse? What is the number one thing you would tell them?
Yes. Take time for yourself. You do need that time. And it's okay to have the pity parties at times. Just don't stay there, but it's okay to have these times. And just rest in knowing that the outcome is God's, and what you have on your shoulders and what you may have to decide, and because there's a lot of decision making as a caregiver, and just know that it doesn't fall on just you, because whatever the outcome is what it's going to be, but you make the best decision during that time as you can. Still pray, still seek for wisdom in what to do, but know that it doesn't need to fall all on you. And I think that will help you feel more at peace as you're going through it, because when I mean, we all know when you have a lot of pressure on you, your anxiety's up, you're more grouchy with other people around you, you take things wrong, you know, all of those emotions come in just from being stressed and fearful, you know. And so I think that will help eliminate a lot of those other emotions if you can just rest in knowing that the outcome is God's, and you do the best to your ability in making those decisions, and allow yourself to have time to just be you and be real, and find a friend that you can do that with, so that you don't feel judged and feel like I'm not as spiritual because I can't get to that level, you know. Just know it's real.
It's a very real thing to go through. It really is. One thing I've always said to people, this having gone through this myself, is that you also kind of have to learn to enjoy the slower pace, because when you're dealing with issues like this, you know, there are days where you're just home, or maybe you can't do as much or go as much. And I remember looking back on my own experience and thinking, wow, those days where we were just hanging out watching a movie or just cooking in the kitchen together, those become precious moments. And so you kind of have to also determine in your heart, I'm going to go with this, you know. And I think when I made that decision, you kind
and don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you need those moments of that downtime and not to feel guilty. There's times where I just want to veg and watch Little House on the Prairie, you know, and just not not have my brain going. Yeah, that's very important. Just having those downtimes and embracing those downtimes and not feel guilty for it.
And giving up guilt. It is shocking to me how much guilt attacks a caregiver, which is so unrealistic, because you are literally sacrificing your own life and many of the things that you would want for someone else. It's actually a huge thing that you should never feel guilty for. And yet for some reason, guilt is constantly attacking you, like you could do more. And you almost have to tell that, get out of here. We are not playing that way. I'm doing the best I can in this situation.
Yeah.
So
it's true. Yeah. Yeah.
On the other hand, how can we? Oh, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. I've had friends that have said that they've had people like guilt them into that they didn't research things more, or they didn't like find better doctors somewhere else to take care of their kids, or they just because they chose that they felt comfortable with staying with the team they had and not finding. So people like to throw that guilt on you too, which, you know, to me, I don't understand. When you're not in those shoes, you don't know all those little conversations that are going on behind the scenes between the team and those parents or the caregiver, you know, of whoever it is. You don't know. So there's no way that people should be judging you from a distance, saying you didn't do enough or you didn't choose the right road or whatever.
Yeah. Just somehow have to shut those voices off.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, next question. So on the other hand, how can we as the body of Christ support people who are taking care of other people? How can we support caregivers in our community?
I just think the main thing is just letting them know you're there as a non-judgmental person, that they can just be real and don't always be so quick to throw scripture and the biblical, you know, things at them. Just let them be a real person. And then I mean, you do need reminded of that when you're going through that. Sometimes you need the reminder of, hey, God's got this, you know, whatever. But there's times where you just want to be real and not feel less spiritual than others because you're feeling these feelings. You know, and that was one of the things that I felt in the thing that I started writing and I want to do later on, but to just know that it's okay when you have these thoughts and these emotions going through. Sometimes you think, why me? Why was I chosen for this journey? And then you feel guilty because you think those things, because you feel like you're not, you know, not fully, you know, putting your attention towards your loved one, and you're being more selfish in it. But just let them be real. And the other thing is pray hard for them to know discernment, to have wisdom, to know what to do in the situations. When I was in that place of not all the time can your spouse or whoever else is with you, a lot of times you're by yourself in the hospital rooms making decisions on your own. When Michaela had her emergency first brain surgery, Kirk left to go home with the kids that day. We didn't think the doctor would be back in, and that night I had to sign papers allowing a total stranger to do emergency brain surgery on a part of the brain that I was told never let anybody touch. You know, and it was all like on me. And a dear precious lady in the church, she called me. She had no idea, because I had literally lost it, and I went into the waiting room just to cry away from Michaela. And I felt that cement feeling in my gut, like what is going to happen. And I felt like I had to pray all night long in order to make sure things went well for the surgery the next morning. And this precious lady called me, had no idea, and she said, God just wants me to tell you that you can sleep tonight and rest tonight and just rely on the prayers of the saints around you to lift your arms up in this battle. And instantly the cement feeling went away. The pressure went away, and I had such a peace in that moment. I felt the peace that passes all understanding like never before, because there was no way I should have had peace during those moments, but I felt his peace come over me. So the importance of having people in the church community in your life that are there, that are praying, that are speaking life into your life over this situation, and listening to God, and relaying the messages that God might be speaking to them to tell you. It's so important, because it's so needed. It's so needed. A simple phone call, a simple text.
That's a great story.
What?
I love that story. I've heard it before, but I love hearing it again. It's just a great story. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your heart on this very important topic, because I truly believe that whether someone is caring for a child or a parent or a spouse, or, you know, whoever they're struggling, they're trying to help, whether they be struggling physically, or some people are dealing with people who are struggling, taking care of people who are dealing with things mentally. I think that is such a special work. You are doing a great work. And I don't think we recognize that enough. In the church, sometimes we look at the great works as, you know, the person on the platform, or the dynamic singer, or, you know, the healing ministry. And we look at these things and wow, they're a missionary to some crazy country overseas. And you think that's so awesome. But yet when you are taking care of someone who truly needs you and you're sacrificing, I think Jesus looks at that and says, that's a great work. That's the work of service. And I just want to encourage anyone out there today who you find yourself in a situation similar to Andrea's, to be encouraged by her and know that God is so proud of you. And he's not looking at you with judgment or guilt or any of those things. He's looking at you and saying, wow, my daughter's doing a great job taking care of everybody in her life. And I am so proud of her. She's really showing the light of Jesus. So I just wanted, this is a little different than we've done on most of these interviews, but before we turn off today, would you mind taking some time and praying for anyone who's listening, who's in this role?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Dear Lord, we just come to you right now. We just ask you to just touch anyone that is feeling defeated, tired, weary. I know some right now that I've seen sharing different things on Facebook. There's so many people out there that just need your peace and your comfort and your strength to get through these days. And I just ask right now that you help them to just listen to this and gather some information and just guidance and just a peace in knowing that you can be real through this, that there's no issue in that there's no guilt in that they can just be real and honest and have these moments of just the pity parties, but that you are there and that you're there to lift them up and you're there to encourage and just give them the strength that they can rely on through these situations. And I ask right now, everyone that's feeling this way, that you just provide for them a strength like none other, only that you can give, dear God, a peace that passes all understanding, just wisdom and discernment for decisions that are to be made. Just guide and direct each of their steps, and just help them to be able to look back then and see your hand in each step of the way, providing and being faithful, and that's just what you do, and just help them to be able to fall back on that and rest and trust in you for that faithfulness and that and everything that they need in the time of need. And just thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for Adessa and Jamie and their ministry, and just bless them and in every way possible. We just ask you just give us a wonderful rest of the day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, thank you so much. It is always a
Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you. And I really just thank you for sharing your heart for this topic that is just so close to both of our hearts. And if you want to connect with Andrea and you want to read more, she writes an amazing blog called Confessions of a Caregiver on Facebook. And I've read some of what she's written, and it's so heartfelt and it's biblically based, but it just goes right to the heart of encouraging caretakers. So if you want to connect with her, check out Confessions of a Caregiver on Facebook. It's just so good. You want to like that page, you want to follow her page. And if you've enjoyed this video today, I want to encourage you to take a minute, share it, and pass it around Facebook, share the video, share the podcast, and let's get this word out to as many people as we can, encouraging the caregivers in our lives. And I also want to take a moment and say thank you to everyone who's watched or listened to this. I know we live in a crazy, super busy world, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to watch these videos. I hope that they encourage you to be the woman of God that He has called you to be, and to do the things that He has called you to do, because we each have our own callings. You can find more content at adessaholden.com or on the Adessa Holden Ministries Facebook page, or follow us on our YouTube channel. So thanks so much for joining us, and so much of what you said today, Andrea, I just sat here and said, that'll preach. So thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.